Hard to picture anything more peaceful, isn't it? Come around back. Let's have a chat. Hello, online pipe community. Ethan, Parsimonious Piper here. I am standing outside the courthouse, Appomattox Courthouse. If Philadelphia is where America was born, Appomattox Courthouse was where America was reborn. Following the 5 years of intense and brutal warfare during the American Civil War, Generals Grant and Lee met in the building behind me. Well, the original. This is a recreation. The original burned down. This was built to spec, but they met right here on this land, on this ground. When Lee surrendered, Grant gave him terms that began the reconciliation and the reuniting of a very divided country. We're in a very divided country again. Let's not make this necessary. Over the next few minutes, I'll take you on a little tour, some photographs, some video, to show you exactly where the armies met and how our country began to heal. From the front yard of the Pierce house, the final shots, cannon fire, of the Army of Northern Virginia rang out as advancing Union soldiers exchanged mostly artillery fire. In the days after that final salvo, the Southern Army would surrender. On this now peaceful hill, on April 10th of 1865, Lee and Grant met for the second time and worked out the formal conditions of Lee's surrender. 2 days later, on April 12th, Union General Chamberlain massed his Union Army along the ridge I'm standing on and the other side of this small valley. Through that gauntlet marched nearly 25,000 Confederate soldiers. As they did, General Chamberlain ordered his men to a marching salute. Surprised, Confederate General Gordon ordered his men to return it. The healing had begun. After the formal surrender of Lee to Grant, throughout the day on April 12, 1865, Confederate divisions marched into the village beyond this field to lay down their weapons and flags. Union troops lined the Richmond-Lynchburg Stage Road right here to beyond the courthouse and the McLean House on the other side. By day's end, about 22,000 Confederates had marched into the village and stacked arms. Their paroles were given April 10th through 15th. The long journey home, the difficult road to reconciliation, had begun. Major Henry Kide Douglas, Confederate States of America, wrote, "As my decimated and ragged band with their bullet-torn banner marched into its place, someone in the blue line called for 3 cheers for the last brigade to surrender. For us, this soldierly generosity was more than we could bear. Many of the grizzled veterans wept like women, and my own eyes were as blind as my voice was dumb." And here I sit in front of the McLean House, one of the last original buildings standing. You'll notice a few times throughout I mentioned this is where the healing began. This is where reconciliation began. Well, there's a lesson for us there. Healing, reconciling friendships and family doesn't necessarily begin just once. It's a process that sometimes has to be repeated. When Jesus was asked, how many times should we forgive someone? 7 times? And he replied, no, 70 times 7. Well, he didn't literally mean 490, but as many times as it takes. Our country can learn from that. Let's work on building bridges instead of continuing to burn them down. With that, folks, I hope you enjoyed this little tour. Light something you like. Enjoy this weekend.